covering the community, the people, events, and issues of Georgia, Carolina. This is the Means Report. Now, from the studios of WJBF News Channel 6 in Television Park in downtown Augusta, here's Brad Means.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Means Report. So happy that you're taking time out of your busy weekend to join us. We have a busy broadcast for you coming up over the next half hour, so we want to get right to it. Today we're going to cover three important topics. First of all, it's our regular meeting with Augusta Mayor Deke Copenhaver to find out the latest from the city of Augusta, and as we know, there's been a ton going on lately. Also, we're going to find out about treats for troops. Vera is here from Very Vera, and she'll tell you how you, for a very low price, can make a big difference in the life of one of our soldiers serving overseas. And Kristen Chandler is here to talk about Light the Night. The walk is going to be here before we know it. Your chance to help people who are battling blood cancers. We'll tell you how to take care of that and take part in just a little bit. First, though, the Honorable Deke Copenhaver, the Mayor of Augusta, so kind to take the time to stop by the set of the Means Report on a regular basis for us. Mayor Copenhaver, let's get right to it. We, unfortunately, have been covering a lot of controversy at City Hall. Let's talk about the Let's Fire Fred Russell movement first. Has that died down? Has Alvin Mason calmed down? Where does that stand?
I will tell you, Brad, I think the worst thing that we can do in any given situation is play these personnel situations out the way they've been played out in the media. I think based on last week's meeting or this week's meeting, things have calmed down. But really, I've shared with people, we need to be focused on the big picture issues. We need to be focused on economic development, creating jobs and opportunity, and not constantly figuring out who we're going to fire next.
What about the recension, if that's even a word, of the raises? There was talk about taking back the raises that Fred Russell issued and that started this whole thing. Are those raises still in place?
They are still in place. There was some concern about that legally. How would you do that? But no, those raises are still in place at this point.
And take a look at the budget, if you will, please, as the Commission continues to try to make ends meet in the face of a multi-million-dollar shortfall. Yesterday, or this week, we heard Commissioner Joe Bowles say that he was afraid we would have to dip into the reserves to the tune of maybe $5 to $6 million. Do you see us being able to make this budget work? And if so, where are we going to make the cuts?
Well, I'll tell you, Brad, I think that our finance department has done a good job in bringing forward strong budgets in the past few years in difficult economic times. For 4 straight years, we have not raised taxes, which is a great thing in this economy. So I don't know that at this point we're going to have to go to reserves. I think we can probably make it without that. That's what my hope is. But let me just say this, that there's no will at this point on the Commission to raise taxes. So if we're not going to raise revenues that way, we're going to have to look at some more serious cuts.
Well, last year we were fortunate enough to get a surplus at the end of the year, and now we're going to use some of that money to help the furloughed employees. Will you talk about that?
Well, we had called for a few more furlough days this year. We're going to now pay them for those days. I think that's appropriate. It was a $1.6 billion surplus that we ended up having, which once again, I think goes down to the strong fiscal management of the administrator and the people in our finance department. Most cities aren't running surpluses these days, so I see that as a good thing.
Let me ask you 2 questions about morale. First of all, the morale of the 2,000 plus employees in general. Since you're able to help pay them back for these couple of furlough days and, make things take kind of a positive turn, how do you sense that morale is overall in the city of Augusta and its workforce?
These are tough economic times, Brad, and so morale has been impacted. But I believe in our city workers. We've got a bunch of great people that provide services to the citizens of Augusta.
Sure do.
And oftentimes, their efforts go unnoticed, sometimes by elected officials. And I have to say that I appreciate them for hanging in there during these difficult economic times, because they do, all in all, by and large, a great job.
What about the morale, my second question, of Fred Russell? You see him when the cameras are turned off. He's just been put through the ringer. And how does he feel? Does he just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to start sending resumes out like crazy, or is he okay?
Well, I think Fred is competitive. I think he's done overall a good job, and I would just encourage people, don't judge him by one decision which you may deem questionable. Judge him by the body of work. He's done a great job for the city of Augusta, but I think his morale is good, but you just have to hang in there and keep fighting.
You said after Commissioner Alvin Mason grilled the department heads and others on their raises that you weren't brought up to speak like that, basically. Your thoughts on on that? And you talk about how we need to focus on the big picture and focus on the positives. How does it make you feel when you're sitting up there and things like this happen and people start going off?
Well, Brad, let me tell you this. I am not a politician. I try to focus on carrying myself and behaving in a professional manner in all aspects of my job. And I think that if we expect our employees to do that, we as elected officials should do that as well. And I do not agree with calling people out in a public forum. My overall concern is, if we want to get the best and brightest to come work for this government, how are you going to get anybody good to come work in that environment? And let me just say this as well. We do not operate in a vacuum. I was speaking at an event at Callaway Gardens 2 weeks ago, and I started getting questions from people, what's going on in Augusta? So it does not help the city, it does not help bring in businesses, it does not help employee morale.
Does Alvin Mason care what you think?
I respect him as an elected official, and you'd have to ask him that question.
I will. We need to get him back on the Means Report. He's been good, and I hope he's watching. Mr. Mason, you have been good about coming here. We want you back soon to bring us up to speed on what's going on from your perspective. And speaking of positive things, we always make sure that we do that. Costco continues to move right along. I remember last time you were here, you talked about how quickly it would be finished, and it's coming true. As we shot video just a couple of days ago, it almost looks like a Costco.
It does, and once again, I just want to stress, that's 200 new jobs coming online right before Christmas, right before the holidays. And Brad, that's what I am always focused on, is the big picture. To me, it's about jobs and the economy. And I would just encourage other elected officials, if we spent more time trying to recruit businesses and trying to grow the local economy, as opposed to spending time getting into the day-to-day operations of the city, how much better off would we be?
But I'll ask you again, though, really, I kind of said it lightheartedly, does Mason care what you think? What about the commission as a whole? Are they on board with this let's present ourselves in the best image approach?
I believe that they are, Brad. By and large, I've spoken to several commissioners, offline about how this makes us look. I think people are starting to come back around, and really to put forward that image for the city is a disservice to our citizens because we're the elected representation. I think it's a disservice to our employees as well because we're a reflection of the people who work for us as well. But once again, when you talk about big picture issues, this morning I was speaking at the Greater Augusta Healthcare Network. We have the #3 ranking in the state for reported HIV/AIDS cases. We are at the top as far as teenage pregnancy goes. And I was speaking to a minister on the way out, and I said, what if we could get our elected officials to focus on how can I have a positive impact on these major issues that we have facing? It's not all pretty, but if we could get the attention turned towards those issues, what could we do then?
It's true, and if people would just take a minute to focus on those instead of the petty things, then it would serve the city as a whole a lot better. Well, what about anything upcoming that we need to keep our eyes on? You're not going to run for Congress on us, are you?
Based on the 12% approval rating of Congress at this point, I don't think I want any part of that, but I don't know if the commission's is any higher at this point, but no, I just finish my training, complete the Ironman 2 weeks from today. I believe we're airing on Sunday. Looking forward to Westaboo, Arts in the Heart. The fall is my favorite time in Augusta. We've got a football game or two coming up with the Bulldogs. We'll see how that goes. But just once again, to continue to work on the big picture issues for the city. I'm not going to be a part of creating or fanning controversy. I think our citizens deserve better than that, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, we appreciate it, and you always are great about bringing us up to speed, and today is no different, so thanks again very much.
Thank you, Brad.
Augusta Mayor Deke Copenhaver. When the Means Report continues, we will talk to Vera Stewart of Vera. She'll tell you how you can make a big difference in the lives of our troops overseas and make their tummies feel pretty good in the process. We'll be right back.